Three words: Steam Winter Sale. Now, how do you feel about those words? Do you feel overwhelmed or panicked at all? Have you got a massive pile of games but nothing to play? Do old games keep getting shoved aside to make room for new games that you're probably also not going to play? Do you feel any kind of guilt over starting a 43rd playthrough of Skyrim? If you answered yes to any of those questions, I'm sorry to say, but you might have a backlog on your hands. But it's okay, I have one too. I have more games at this point than I will ever realistically play, and that used to really stress me out whenever the annual sales roll around for platforms like Steam and Black Friday and stuff like that. But I've come to understand something about the backlog in the past year or so, and it's something that I want to share with you as well. I've realized that I will never really finish the backlog, at least not really. But I'm okay with that. It doesn't freak me out or stress me out or anything like that. I've made peace with it, and I think you can too. In this video, I want to talk about why backlogs pile up and why they can be stressful to deal with, and how you can overcome your backlog and find fun in playing games again. Backlogs can get out of hand fast, right? I mean, Steam sales happen all the time, and they mark games way down, making them even easier to impulse buy. And then you have platforms like Humble Bundle, which will sell you a bunch of games for one price, and some of them are games that you would have passed up on otherwise. And this isn't even accounting for games that are outside of Steam's ecosystem. Maybe you have games on other installers like Epic Games Launcher, or God forbid you have to use Battle.net for some reason. Or maybe you have games on home consoles like a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Switch or something like that. And then there's the wonderful world of video game streaming services. These streaming services give you access to tons and tons of games for a monthly fee, kind of similar to what Netflix Max Plus ad supported or whatever have done for movies. But they kind of run into a similar problem: analysis paralysis. See, these streaming services have absolutely massive libraries, and you're encouraged to keep a list of stuff that you actually want to see. Which makes sense. You want to be able to sift through all of the slop that they added to HBO Max, so that way you can get to the stuff that's, good. But you run into problems when it's time to actually sit down and watch or play something a lot of the time. You spend way too much time sifting through and weighing all of your options, and the fear of making the wrong choice can really cause a lot of stress. There's definitely been times where my wife and I will go to watch something on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, and we'll spend so much time sifting through and trying to find something to watch that we end up not having time to watch anything at all. Too many options leads to too much overthinking, which leads to stress, and that doesn't get you anywhere, except sad. I feel like there's also this sense of kind of like, well, I'm spending $16 a month on this streaming service, I might as well just consume all the content I can so I get my money's worth out of it. And yeah, I guess that's like kind of justified with video games. I mean, watching a 2-hour movie is a way smaller time commitment than playing like Elden Ring or something. But still, I feel like it's easy to fall into the mindset of feeling like you're not justifying the money that you're spending on something like a streaming service. But really, this idea of feeling like you need to justify the money you've spent carries into the games that we make a conscious decision to purchase as well. Look, I've got regrets for sure. Right after I built my, at the time, brand new gaming PC, I bought into some hype, and despite having never played another game in the series or anything else like it, I had a moment of weakness and bought Fallout 4 for $60 the day it came out. That was 9 years ago, and I still haven't played it. And really, I don't even know if I want to, but I feel like I should. I mean, I spent $60 on that. I should at least give it a couple hours of my time. Maybe I would enjoy it. I heard they fixed a lot of the bugs. Nah, maybe another time. Since I was pretty new to PC gaming at the time, I was still learning how Steam worked and how to navigate the Steam sales and even the flash sales that they used to have, where games would go on sale for a couple of hours for really deep discounts. But eventually I did hit a point where I was like, I need to stop buying games. I have too many games, which is kind of crazy. Like, imagine telling 9-year-old me, who could not be peeled away from Donkey Kong 64, like, hey, you're going to get burned out on video games one day because you're going to have too many to play. So yeah, it's like the ultimate first world problem, but I have a backlog. a bunch of games that I do not have enough time to play, but I feel like I should play them because I've spent money on them and I already have them. And there's so many games coming out all the time that look so good that I'm so excited to play. But when they come out, I find myself going to buy them and then removing these games that I'm really excited about from my cart. It kind of sucks. I mean, this is supposed to be fun. I love video games. I always have. This isn't supposed to be a stressful hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Why am I not having fun? And then a shift happened that kind of erased my fear of the backlog. I haven't really talked about it on this channel yet, and honestly, I don't really plan to. But I also really love movies. I'm always on the hunt for new things to watch. I love going to the theater and being consumed by someone's artistic vision, and I've loved learning more and more about the craft of filmmaking and what goes into it. When I made the conscious decision to get more into movies, I challenged myself to, for the entire year of 2019, watch a movie that was new to me every week. I started off pretty strong. I watched Akira, I watched Hereditary, I got really into the French New Wave for some reason, but I only watched Breathless, which is a bit like saying you really like Steven Spielberg's movies, but you've only seen Jurassic Park. So far, so good. They were all really good movies. But then I missed a week, and another, and before I know it, I was not really watching very many movies at all. Actually, according to my Letterboxd diary, in 2019, I only watched 11 out of the 52 movies that I had promised myself I would watch. Now, my reason was noble, I suppose, but it very quickly hit a point where it just felt like a chore. I wasn't watching a new movie because I wanted to, I was watching one because I felt like I had to. Not only because I was holding myself to some kind of intangible goal, but, I had money in the game. I was renting these movies. I spent $2 whole on those. So I just didn't watch a whole lot of anything that year. But that meant that when I did want to watch a new movie, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. Now just bear with me for a second. We will get back to video games and the backlog, I promise. Just let me cook. I'm talking about movies right now because I don't just have a backlog of video games. I have a backlog of movies as well. If you're not familiar with Letterboxd, it's an app where you can log and review movies as you watch them, and you can also connect with your friends and see what they rated movies and what their reviews are as well, which I think is really fun. But another feature that's really awesome is the watch list feature, where you can keep track of everything that you want to watch. My watch list has well over 600 movies on it at this point, and it gets a little bit longer pretty much every week. Some of the movies on my watch list are even movies that I own. See, my wife worked at a family video right before they went out of business, and before they went under, they had a massive sale where they sold off their entire catalog for really, really, really cheap. So there was a lot of, well, I've heard good time is a good time, and it's $1, so sure, why not? And to circle back to the watch list again, sure, maybe I feel a little bit of obligation to watch a movie if I already have a physical copy of it sitting on my shelf, but I also know realistically I'm never going to finish 600 movies. I'm always going to be adding more to the list, and it's never going to run out. And that's okay. It just means that when I want to watch a movie, I have plenty of options. Not trying to brute force my way through watching 600 movies out of obligation to watch 600 movies has helped me watch way more movies. This mindset is how I've learned to stop worrying and love my video game backlog, or my playlist, as I've taken to calling it lately. See, we're back to video games now. At this point, I kind of treat my playlist the same way I treat my movie watch list. I'm not trying to blast through everything. I know it's impossible. I'm not going to ever finish it, and there's always new games coming out that I'm super excited to play. It just means that when I do want to play something, I have plenty of options to choose from. So now I can breathe freely, without a backlog staring me in the face all the time. Feels pretty great. Now, instead of a backlog, I've got a playlist that I can pull from whenever I want to play a video game. But there is still a pretty big elephant in the room, and its name is analysis paralysis. It's too powerful, even for this mindset, but it can be beaten, or at least it can be made to be smaller and less powerful, I guess. A few months ago, a video came up in my recommended by Backlog called A Relaxed Approach to Your Gaming Backlog. And he said something in that video that just broke every chain that was holding me back. In his video, part of his wisdom is to separate your backlog into two piles. Games that you actually really want to play, and games that for one reason or another you feel like you should play. And as soon as he said that, I looked at the copy of Fallout 4 I bought in 2015 and thought, wait, I don't actually have to play this game? This is especially easy for games that you get for really cheap on sale or even as part of a bundle. I know back when I did Humble Choice, I ended up with a lot of games that I frankly didn't really have very much interest in, but I put them in my backlog anyway because, well, I owned them and I felt obligated to them. But not anymore. If a game doesn't look fun or interesting to me, I'm just not gonna play it or think about it really, and that's okay. But hey, this also applies to very big, important games. Like my thing is, and I might ruffle some feathers with this, I don't really care for Skyrim very much. I got it on sale for dirt cheap back when I first built my PC, and I've tried to play it several times. I know it's got its fans and it's really popular, but for reasons I won't get into in this video, I just wasn't having a lot of fun with it. So instead of forcing myself to just push through it and play Skyrim just for the sake of playing Skyrim, I just put it down and kind of forgot about it. Maybe I'll try it again someday. Maybe I never install it again. Who knows? It just goes to show that just because a game is popular or influential or part of the video game canon or whatever, if something's not your cup of tea, you don't have to play it. It's okay. So now your playlist is probably a good bit smaller now that you've eliminated the games that you don't really care to be playing. What I like to do at this point is to make that pool of games even smaller. Remember, we're trying to beat that elephant named analysis paralysis. Now you can come up with whatever system you want, but what I like to do is I like to narrow my playlist into 5 or 6 games that I at least kind of feel like playing in that moment. I try to keep it kind of varied. Maybe I'll pick an RPG, a platformer, a first-person shooter, a retro game, and maybe something I haven't played in a good while. And when I'm finished with a game and decide I want to play another one, I just pick another one from that same pool. But you can really do this however you want. Don't be afraid to reshuffle it if the vibes change or if you decide you want to play something else. For example, when I saw Alien Romulus in theaters, that really just put me in the mood to really feel small in the face of the universe. So I watched The Color Out of Space, which was fine. I watched a lot of Outer Wilds video essays, and I reshuffled my pool of games. This reshuffle ended up with Bloodborne, Super Metroid, and Alien Isolation being in my pool of games. I only ended up playing the last one though, but again, that's okay. The cool thing is that you can kind of keep shuffling around this pool of games pretty much forever. I mean, there's new interesting games coming out all the time, and hopefully some of them are catching your eye. And eventually you're bound to pick some of them up. Your backlog might get shorter, but it's more than likely that you'll never really complete it. But that's okay, just take your time and enjoy it. I mean, that's why we're doing this, right? I mean, this is supposed to be fun. At least for most of us, playing video games is a hobby, and hobbies are meant to be enjoyed. And there's no real faster way to kill your enjoyment of something than to turn it into a list of chores to just get through. So pick up that new game that you're interested in. Or revisit an old favorite. Or you could try something new that you've been sitting on. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've started a new Stardew Valley farm, so I'm just gonna get to that.